Ever since the inauguration, gun owners have been waiting for Trump to issue some kind of Second Amendment executive order, and obviously came up short as we hadn't heard anything through the first few days. But on Friday, Trump finally delivered. Sort of. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. This executive order isn't so cut and dry as, say, abolishing the ATF or the NFA, though we can all dream. But I would say that it's promising, as it does call for a government audit looking for infringements on the Second Amendment. And with the way DOJ is going with their audits, things could get pretty interesting. That being said, the audit process is being led by new Attorney General Pam Bondi, and there could be some issues there. But before I jump into this one, this video is sponsored by Blackout Coffee Company. Blackout is your Florida-based coffee roaster that has a strong history of supporting the Second Amendment, soldiers overseas, and channels like mine. Not only do they have some amazing coffee, tea, and hot chocolate with the coffee being roasted to order, they also have dedicated partner roasts where some of the proceeds are donated to some of your favorite gun rights groups directly, like GOA and FPC. So to get a cup of coffee that you can be proud of, go to blackoutcoffee.com/LibertyDoll and you can use code LibertyDoll for a one-time 20% discount. So check them out to help support the channel and your rights. Now let's start with the executive order. It deserves a full read, so here we go. Section 1, Purpose. The Second Amendment is an indispensable safeguard of security and liberty. It has preserved the right of the American people to protect ourselves, our families, and our freedoms since the founding of our great nation. Because it is foundational to maintaining all other rights held by Americans, the right to keep and bear arms must not be infringed. And I like how it says must not and not shall not. A little less room for interpretation. Section 2, Plan of Action. A. Within 30 days of the date of this order, the Attorney General shall examine all orders, regulations, guidance, plans, international agreements, and other actions of executive departments and agencies to assess any ongoing infringements of the Second Amendment rights of our citizens and present a proposed plan of action to the President through the Domestic Policy Advisor to protect the Second Amendment rights of all Americans. B. In developing such proposed plan of action, the Attorney General shall review at a minimum 1. All presidential and agencies' actions from January 2021 through January 2025 that purport to promote safety but may have impinged on the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens. 2. Rules promulgated by the Department of Justice, including by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives from January 2021 through January 2025 pertaining to firearms and/or federal firearms licensees. 3. Agencies' plans, orders, and actions regarding the so-called Enhanced Regulatory Enforcement Policy pertaining to firearms and/or federal firearms licensees. 4. Reports and related documents issued by the White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention. 5. The positions taken by the United States in any and all ongoing and potential litigation that affects or could affect the ability of Americans to exercise their Second Amendment rights. 6. Agencies' classification of firearms and ammunition, which I'm thinking would include the frame and receiver rule. And 7, the processing of applications to make, manufacture, transfer, or export firearms. Section 3, Implementation. Upon submission of the proposed plan of action described in Section 2 of this order, the Attorney General shall work with the Domestic Policy Advisor to finalize the plan of action and establish a process for implementation. Section 4, General Provisions. A. Nothing in this order shall be construed to impair or otherwise affect 1. The authority granted by law to an executive department, agency, or the head thereof, or 2. The functions of the Director of the Office of Management and Budget relating to budgetary, administrative, or legislative proposals. B. This order shall be implemented consistent with applicable law and subject to the availability of appropriations. C. This order is not intended to and does not create any right or benefit, substantive or procedural, enforceable at law or in equity by any party against the United States, its departments, agencies, or entities, its officers, employees, or agents, or any other person. So, at the very minimum, Bondi will be looking at everything that Biden and the ATF implemented during his tenure. So, potentially, we're talking getting rid of the new engaged in the business. We could see the whole pistol brace thing struck out. We could see the frame and receiver rule struck out. And while Biden quietly got rid of the zero tolerance policies over clerical errors right before he left, maybe we could see something put in place to make sure nothing like that ever happens again. Some of these things are still being bounced around in the courts, and going over pending litigation or even potential litigation will also be interesting, and I'm intrigued to see how far this all goes. Are we talking about the assault weapons bans that have gone up through the courts and got rejected by the Supreme Court? Because there are plenty of states right now facing lawsuits over mag bans and assault weapons bans. But we also have to keep in mind here who is doing this audit. Pam Bondi has, in the past, shown support for some gun control measures, and that needs to be acknowledged. GOA points out that, as Attorney General of Florida, she defended red flag laws and the ban on gun ownership for 18 to 20-year-olds. She also supported the bump stock ban, which, while you could argue is small potatoes in the grand scheme of things, because bump stocks, it's still an infringement, and a stupid one at that. She's definitely not the worst choice for Attorney General, but this shows that she's also not the best. So the question remains, how will she sort through all of these gun control policies and decide what is and isn't an infringement? Will she do as she's told or side more with the ATF and gun control? I definitely don't think that she's going to be an absolutist, that much is for sure. She's also supported some pro-gun measures, so only time will tell. We don't even know how she's going to react to the handgun ban issue that has recently been overturned by the courts because she herself supported it. So I'm cautiously optimistic and think that we might get Biden's rules cut, as that's kind of already been announced as on the table, but I don't know how much more we'll get than that. Will there be any additional oversight here? Will there be someone double-checking these policies? Is she going to use Bruin as the qualifier? We don't know. Going by Bruin and other recent court decisions, for example, again, striking down the under 21 gun ban, the one saying that machine guns are protected under the Second Amendment, the one saying that medical marijuana use shouldn't prohibit you from your Second Amendment rights. Going by all of that would be ideal. Going by Heller would be ideal, but I feel like that might also be seen as extreme for someone who again supported that same handgun ban for under 21 and red flag laws. Only time will tell how far this goes. Something in it has to go in our favor. I doubt that she's going to audit all of these things and be like, oh no, there was nothing to cut. There's going to be something. I don't think it's going to be enough because it's never enough, but I think we'll at least get something, and I'm intrigued to see what that something is. Even if they went through it and decided to cut or completely explode the ATF, that doesn't get rid of gun control laws, so we'll see. In the meantime, you guys know the drill for all of the algorithm things. Please like, share, and subscribe if you are new here. Ring that notification bell. I've been getting some comments lately, people being like, oh wow, you did multiple videos this week. Ladies and gentlemen, I do, on average, 4 videos a week. So if you're only seeing 1 or 2, you're definitely missing some. So ring that bell. And as always, thanks for tuning in. Stay safe out there and happy shooting.